welcome. You've all heard about the three blokes in a pub. Well, guess what? What the boys can do, we can do too. We've got three birds. We're in Liverpool, so we're obviously live birds.
And you've got all Scouse and those.
I know, Scouse. It's amazing, isn't it? It's Graham's bad influence. So yes, I felt very chuffed to be a blokette for the afternoon, and to be able to talk about our project, the In Limbo project. So there was so much to say that we thought we'll carry on. We'll do another one. We'll do the three birds and see where it takes us, and talk about the In Limbo project to start off with. So I've got with me Frederica Roberts and Vikla Pusandu, who are both advocates for the In Limbo project. So Frederica, could you introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are, what you do, what brought you here?
Well, I'm Frederica Roberts, and I'm Italian and German, hence the In Limbo project really appealed to me when I learnt about it, and I've been now involved for the best part of the 2 years, I think, since it's been going. And what else can I say about me? My work has nothing to do with any of this. I found that suddenly I'm spending so much of my time campaigning and not as much of my time working as I should be, and as I'm self-employed, that's never a good thing. But I've been in this country for 28 years, and I sound and look British to all intents and purposes, but I'm not. I've got a British husband, 2 daughters who are Italian, German, and what am I saying, British? I was going to say French then.
It's nice to have that portfolio passport, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is useful. It's very expensive to renew all the passports. And I grew up in Luxembourg. I was born in Italy, but I grew up in Luxembourg. And I lived there from absolutely, cut me in the middle like a stick of rock, and it says European. I grew up in Luxembourg from the age of 2 to 18, and then I came to the UK to uni. And in that time, I grew up with citizens of all EU countries. I went to the European school, and I was really in the middle of what it's like to live harmoniously together. And well, we know what's happened in the last 2 years here in the UK. Everything doesn't quite feel like it did up until 2 years ago, and so I'm really keen to help the In Limbo project in terms of what it means to us as citizens.
Thank you so much, Frederica. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the In Limbo project?
Yeah. So my name is Vikla Pusandu. I live in Bradford. I'm French. I've lived in the UK for 18 years, so exactly half of my life. And
I know how old you are now. Oh my gosh. You're still just a young spring chicken. I've got more than 10 years on you.
Same. I mean, I'm quite active in the community. I do lots of work with, already, even before the referendum, with EU nationals and non-EU nationals. But in the last 2 years, it's just been focused on EU nationals. I've got 2 beautiful children that are, they were only French, and now they're dual national. That was one of the journey that had to happen in the last 2 years. There you go.
Thank you so much. And for those who don't know, my name is Cozy Hill. I've also been involved with the In Limbo project. So the In Limbo project, right? In June 2017, we published our book, In Limbo, Brexit Testimonies from EU Citizens in the UK. So these are stories from people like ourselves and how Brexit is going to affect us. And then in June 2018, on the 2nd anniversary of the referendum, we published In Limbo 2, which are the stories of UK citizens who've gone abroad. There are mirror images. They've done a mirror image of the journey we have and gone to the EU 27 countries and reside there and live there. So what I wanted to talk about today is, first of all, people tell us, straight after the referendum, I'm sure you got this as well. So when are you going back home? Where is home?
Music
I mean, it is part of my testimony. But one of the things that happened on the results day of the referendum is I went to work, and my colleagues that I thought were my friends in many ways were cheering about Brexit and asking it when we would be deported back to Europe.
They actually used the word deported.
Yes. So it was, obviously the result itself was upsetting, but then the reaction of so-called colleagues, it was, I felt really sick and went home that day.
Did they think they were joking? that they think it was
They were
funny.
not joking.
Ouch. That's even worse.
Yeah.
You know, if it was presented as a bit of banter and a bit of a joke, you might be able to turn around and say, do you know what, that's actually not funny right now. But to say so, it baffles me. I mean, I haven't had. I'm very fortunate. I live in Liverpool. Liverpool is a Remain city. Liverpool is really welcoming, really friendly. You scratch a little bit below the surface. Everybody's from somewhere else, and they know it. You know, they know that they've got Spanish roots or Irish roots or Portuguese roots. They're all seafarers here. You know, people arrived from Russia 200 years ago and lost their luggage, or it was nicked on the pierhead, and you know, on their way to America they got stuck here. Well, I didn't come here to settle. I came here to go to university, and then life just happened, and I got stuck. So where's home? Home is here. This is my home. I've lived here for 2/3 of my life, all my adult life. But you said something interesting when we talked about this earlier about where's home, and you actually said, because I said actually it's a simple question, it should be a simple answer. But you said it's not at all, is it?
It's not simple, because home is where the heart is, and your heart is in so many places. You know, I talk about going home to Luxembourg. I haven't lived there for 28 years, I only lived there for 16 years of my life, but I talk about Doncaster as being home.
Of course.
And I talk about Italy, where I only spent 2 years of my life that I don't remember, but I talk about that, about going home to Italy, going back to Italy when I go on holiday. All of those places are home. All of those places. And, you know, I could talk about Germany as home, and I've never lived there, ever. But, you know, it's... I feel, and when I hear somebody speak German or Italian or even French, because I grew up with French TV, French music, theatre, you know, speaking French in Luxembourg, I kind of want to go, I'm one of you, I'm one of you, I know I don't sound it, I know I sound British, but I'm one of you. And
I get that.
That connection.
Not even within Europe, within the world, because when I was a teenager, I was very fortunate, and I got packed off to the Caribbean for 4 months. Now, 4 months of my life is a very small fraction, but it was a really pivotal moment in my life, and it informed a lot of what happened later in my life. And for me, in my heart, that's also my home. So when I meet somebody from the Caribbean, usually I run up to them, if they're from Tobago, from Trinidad, I run up to them, I go, Island boy, you're from the islands. There's a connection there, and there is a connection from the heart. And I've visited lots of other places. I have probably cumulatively spent more than 4 months in I don't know, another place, but that's the connection that was formed. It was an important place to me. But likewise, I feel like that about Greece. You know, I love Greece, and likewise when I've worked in Bulgaria, you know, I feel at home there, and I feel welcome there, and it connects to my heart.
That's very interesting. It's
the world, isn't it?
I mean, my dad was born and brought up in Africa. Now, even before I went, I have been since, but even before I went to Africa, I always had that same, you know, like you were saying, so it's like, ooh, I belong here, where's this, you know.
Yeah, but I feel there's another connection, really, there's something else that's drawing me there. Yeah. You know, there's a lovely German word which is Family, you know, yearning for somewhere else. And I had that for coming to England as well. I remember when I was a teenager in school, I was really good in English, and I was into punk, and you know, all I wanted was to go to London. I want to be in London, I want to be in London, you know, because of the music and the fashion and everything. So it's not, you know, home isn't just one place. And it's also about a feeling and about the people who are around you. And of course, we're married to British citizens. Our children are British citizens. This is where they live. So where they live and where their centre of their life is home for us as well.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, my eldest daughter has been told when she's done videos campaigning against Brexit and stuff, well, if you don't like it, then go back home.
Oh,
and she's like, but I am home. I'm in Doncaster. That's where you know, I was born and bred in Doncaster.
This is my home.
You know, this is my home. But you know, it's again, she's got that whole sort of, you know, and particularly the Italian roots. But you know, again, Luxembourg, because we go every 2 years, and it's complex even when you've grown up in the one country, because as you were saying, you feel that connection of your parents and
the family history and everything.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, my children are, as you know, dual heritage, and you know, so a refugee dad from Congo and a mother from France. So I'm born in the UK, so born and bred as well. So they've got all that mixture of identities. you know, which yeah, same. It's funny. Yeah.
Well, actually, you mentioned identity, and I think that's an interesting one because.
Excuse me.
Oh, our food is being taken away.
Sorry, rations for later. Thank you.
But you mentioned identity, and I think that's really important because a lot of people have said to me, and a lot of people that have known me for a long time say, "You're not British, you haven't taken," and they're really surprised. And I always say, well, why should I? Because, you know, it's actually really expensive, but I've never needed to.
One EU passport for another EU passport.
Yes.
It's just a straight exchange. And
it is very expensive, and there's no need when you're
also you do not become British just on paper. It's the mind.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, I felt more British before the referendum than when I
now
actually
because-
became British a few months ago.
And you say British.
Well, again, you know, we're a bit transpennine here today, aren't we? Well, you from Doncaster, do you cross
South
the Pennines?
Yorkshire,
Yeah. And of course, Leeds, Bradford, it's just across the Pennines from Liverpool, so I had to get the word transpennine in there. But this is it. And the other thing I wanted to mention was, you know, the first question was where is home, and then we were talking about that's about the connection from the heart. So the referendum result has caused a lot of heartbreak.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Our hearts are breaking, and we might have felt more British 3 years ago than now. It's kind of like, well, you know what? If I'm not wanted here, why should I get that British passport, even if I could? I mean, we'll not go into the practicalities now because we've actually been given a limited time slot, so we're not going to talk today. Watch the Three Blokes with you, in which I'm an honorary blokette for the day, and there's loads of information in that for the practicalities of actually getting citizenship or permanent residence or settled status or the various forms. But I want to talk about the emotions, the raw emotions.
Sense of betrayal, loss of identity in many ways, the rug being pulled off your feet, anger, frustration, sadness.
I also say I feel a bit like a fish out of water because you know this. We've talked about what is home, but you know home is in a practical sense where you live and where you know. And I don't know how to adult anywhere else. I've been here since I was 18. I don't know.
The thought of doing bureaucracy in Germany.
I just don't know how to do it. I don't know how things work. You know, I know how things work here. And so, on one hand, I feel a bit like you going, right, well, fine, if you don't want me, you know, I'll go.
Yeah, but it's not that easy,
It's not that easy. And actually, and then there's the flip side, why should I? Why should I let them win? You know, and all of that. But actually, the practicality of, you know, I'm married to a British citizen who doesn't speak another European language.
Same here.
He's the main breadwinner in our family, so he needs to actually get a good job that's equivalent to what he's doing now.
Unless you get a really good job. But,
unless I get a really good job, which I could if I stopped doing what I'm doing now as a self-employed person, which doesn't earn me a lot of money at the moment, but actually is what I love. I could, with my languages, go back to Luxembourg or whatever and possibly do other stuff, but it wouldn't be what my heart wants to do, you know, so there are other options, but it's all so complicated and this kind of heartbreak, you know, on the day we got the results, I just remember just this, like you say, betrayal, anger, frustration, this feeling of, oh my God, what now? What now? I don't know. And this sense of belonging, because I felt like I belonged here, far more than in a way I feel like I belong in Luxembourg or in Italy or in Germany. So if I were to leave here, because I no longer feel comfortable in that sense of belonging here, then actually I would feel equally uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And there's a good saying, how does it go? I'm too foreign for here. No, what is it? I'm too foreign to be at home here, and at home I'm too foreign to be there. Something like that. I can't remember how this.
Well, there's a French saying. It was saying it le cul entre deux chaises, which means
between two chairs.
It means your bottom between two chairs,
very good,
so you don't belong anywhere. Stateless. I don't know.
Yeah, but we're not.
I mean, technically we do, but the way that the referendum made us feel is that we don't belong anywhere.
It's pushed us into limbo, and it's highlighted all these differences that we kind of thought were done and dusted. All of a sudden, I'm not as equal anymore. Suddenly, some animals are more equal than others.
And also, and within that, some EU citizens are more equal than others.
Exactly.
Because before the referendum, somebody on Facebook said to me, and we fell out in a very major way, because he said to me, "You'll be okay because you're one of the good ones."
I know what you mean.
Oh, the good and bad immigrant.
I can understand that there may be certain parts in the country where maybe they've had a huge influx of the population of, say, Polish people or whatever, where it's maybe a bit much and they're a bit overwhelmed by it. I can understand that to a degree, but I must say, they're EU citizens the same as me.
Yeah.
I realised very quickly after the referendum, when I realised that there was more to this narrative than just a bit of a sense of, it's a bit many of them all at once. You know, they're EU citizens. They are no less valuable or I'm no better than them. And they're countries that the A8 countries had to jump through all kinds of hoops to join the club. And the UK made the hoops together with the other EU countries that they had to jump
through. The UK had the option of not letting them all arrive at once.
Absolutely.
And they didn't take that option. That's not our fault, that's not their fault, is it?
No.
It's nobody's fault. They could have had them trickling in slowly.
The UK can be a bit more honest about that. You know, there's certainly, the government should be a bit more honest about that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the morning, we mentioned the morning of the referendum, I, of course, got in a strap and went, right, that's it, we're leaving. Oh, my girls were 6 and 8 years old, burst into tears.
Well, yeah.
You know, and ever since then, we've been in limbo and we've not been able... So I ignored it for a few months, and then after about 6 months, I started thinking, well, maybe I should find out if there's anything I must do now, you know, is there something... I'm German, I'm used, you know, we're quite good about listening to authority, and if the authorities say you must go and register, you know, normally we're quite good about these things, even though I'm also hugely aware that that should never have been necessary, and the change in my status is not necessary, or is not really legal actually. So when I started investigating after about 6 months, I was like, and I then discovered that my eligibility to British citizenship has been removed. And it was one day after the next, and the 2 months before the Article 50 was triggered, it was every day there was some kind of slap in the face, some kind of insult from either the government or the media, the newspapers, the headlines. It gets to you in the end.
It's relentless, isn't it? It's just... And I remember the first time Theresa May... And the first time she said, we cannot guarantee unilaterally the rights of EU citizens because we can't give away all our whatever bargaining chips or whatever. Yes,
we are being used as
bargaining
exactly.
Chips, I'm not a bargaining chip.
We are human beings.
My goodness! And that was just what, weeks after the referendum. It was.
No, it was in 2017.
Was it?
I think it was just after Article 50 was triggered.
Oh,
around about then.
Yeah. But it wasn't that long in the grand scheme now of everything that's happened. And then, of course, now they're panicking, aren't they? Because so many of us are leaving.
You mean yesterday? So
yes.
You're our friends and we want you to stay.
We want you to stay, yes.
You know, we're seeing now with Stateless that words are cheap, and what is actually written in the papers, what is actually written in the law in the end is sometimes different. And what is actually delivered is sometimes different from what is written in the law. Dare I say, Windrush?
Exactly, exactly.
You know, why should we trust them? What basis do we have to have faith that the Home Office and the system they're building is going to work for us? Yeah. Apart from the fact that any kind of system they're building is a breach of human rights, I accept and acknowledge that I might have to kind of swallow my pride a little bit on that and go, okay, they need to process this somehow, something needs to be done. I appreciate that. You know, I'm not that impractical. But there's a line there that's getting crossed.
And my big worry is actually, okay, yes, so say they give us settled status, say we're fine, we could be fine for 10 years, 20 years, whatever. But yeah, again, Windrush. What happens when we're retired? What happens when we're unwell or whatever? I can't live my life thinking that one day, maybe when I'm older and less capable of dealing with all this stuff, one day they might just go, oh, actually, we've changed the law and we don't want you here anymore. You know, that's no way to live, is it? And unless it's absolutely, solidly something enshrined in international treaties that they can't just pull themselves out of, anything that is local law in the UK, they can just change. And that doesn't give me any reassurance. And, you know, this government particularly, but it could be any future government as well. how are you supposed to live like that, knowing that?
And I'd be tempted to go off on a tangent about democratic processes, but won't, because we've given
another 2 hours.
I won't do that. I'm not going to do that here. No. Do not.
That's another one. That's another episode.
Yeah, let's make that another episode. That would be another really good episode. But you know, one other thing that I wanted to cover today was, okay, this is the situation we're in now. We're in limbo. It's a painful place to be. It's not nice. There are lots and lots, 48% of the country, or of the voters in the referendum, there are lots of people who are not happy with the situation we're in, who are bemoaning their own loss of EU citizens' rights. What can they do to help us? What do we need? It's all very well minging and moaning. We've done a bit of belly aching for the last, 20 minutes or so. But let's turn that around. Let's try and make that a positive and say, well, what is it we need? What is it we want from our friends, our relatives, our neighbours?
I think the main thing for me is reach out.
Yep.
Reach out, show you care.
So have you hugged an EU citizen today? I think we need to make that a campaign, hug an EU citizen.
If you've got an EU citizen that's already a friend, but you've not seen them, or just ask how are you? How do you feel? Etc. Be your neighbour, your colleagues, anything. Just reach out.
Let us have a rant.
I would also go further than that, because we've got to a point now where people need to take action.
Yeah.
And I'm actually getting quite frustrated with people who care about me.
I'm tired.
Yeah, well,
I'm knackered.
I am.
I am knackered, and I feel like I'm banging my head against a brick wall, telling British people, you need to wake up. These are your rights that are being violated.
They're losing their rights. They're losing their rights.
All our rights.
So when people say to me, "Oh, I'm really so sorry that this is happening to you," my standard response is now becoming: A, it's not just happening to me; it's happening to you
too. Exactly.
You're losing your rights as well. And B, if you really are sorry, do something.
Exactly. And they are your rights.
Yeah.
You need to fight for them. You need to stand up for them. No government has the right to remove your rights. They're your rights. People fought and died for them.
And they can do, not everybody is capable or willing or able to march, but they can write to their MP, they can write to their newspaper.
And that's what we need right now. We need letters to MPs. Every MP needs their inboxes filled, rammed.
And not just once, constantly,
every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
People forget they think they don't have power, but they don't realise that if everybody does it,
and
then that's when it makes a difference.
local papers, because MPs do look at the local papers and they care. They care about public opinion.
They do. And also, invite your MP to your business. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
That's a really good one I heard. That's a fabulous one. And also, again, going back to the simple things of, hugging an EU citizen. Well, if you know 5 words in another language, use them.
Yeah.
If you're in a Greek restaurant, say opa, say yasu, to say cheers. The odd word is just sending a message. Because we've had a lot of reports, haven't we, in Limbo and in our group, of people who were told, "Oh, we speak English here," and even when they were talking in Welsh, it was like, "Hello, excuse me, I think you may find."
No, absolutely. And it happened to a friend of Charlie's, my eldest daughter, Polish friend, grew up in Doncaster, has always spoken to his mum in Polish, and days after the referendum, he was on the phone to his mum speaking Polish, and he got a gang of people coming up at him. They didn't attack him, but verbally,
but it's still abuse.
It is abuse, and telling him in no uncertain words where to go and that you should speak English and blah blah blah. And it's not on. It's not on. I'm a bit rebellious, so now I deliberately. Charlie does speak a bit of Italian, and we deliberately speak Italian in Doncaster now. Because and I have that rebellious streak, so I'll get the new European out and I'll do it in public, and then I think actually that could be dangerous. It could be dangerous because you are in places where people are
worried.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of our group members have said, and I've never felt comfortable speaking German to my kids in public, or and so they don't speak any German because I wasn't consistent in.
I wasn't
consistently German to them. So I feel as a mother I've completely and utterly failed to give them that second language. But then you can lead a horse to water, Anyway,
we can have that whole conversation because I feel exactly the same.
I think.
But I was going to say, always challenge xenophobia,
yes,
racism, well,
should we maybe say something about, you know, like if you do see something going on, how
well,
to handle it? Because it's...
And he's a brilliant video that was done by Racial Justice Network
Yeah.
about 5 ways to disrupt racism. One of the things that some people know of is I was sadly subject to a hate crime in April 2018, and one thing that one of a young lady who did an amazing thing at the time of the incident is she intervened, but not by reacting to the perpetrator, but actually by turning her back to the perpetrator, but engaging with me and my son, which was a brilliant way of intervening on making us feel. So when you're going through such an incident, you're feeling really isolated and really lonely. And so that person is just like rebalancing things and also making you feel a little bit safer.
And taking power away from the person.
Exactly, taking power away.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, because this is actually a really, really good thing, but we're in our last minute, so we're going to have to wind it up now. Thank you so much for being in the first episode of the 3 Birds. So hashtag 3 Birds.
Absolutely. 3 Birds.
I hope we can do some more, and we'll do it again another time, and we'll have some more of these. Thanks a lot for coming along today.
Thank you. Bye.